arriving to the present moment beyond time, beyond space, is recognizing that time and space is connected with the mind and connected with your placement of your attention and focus. It is only because you place your attention upon the experience of time is that the time exists in your experience. So that which you place your attention upon, that which you place your attention upon, that which you focus upon, it creates your experience. For example, in my case, I have no experience of time as such. Of course, I can see on the clock, the arrows are ticking, but it's just a mechanical device supposedly doing something. We got so much used to time that people got lost in time. If we inquire what is time, it becomes very interesting, because the origin of time was the observation of changes of day and night. But these observations are only relative to people living on this earth. For example, if you would, even on this earth, if you would live, let's say, in Finland or Alaska, there's no really that of a big difference of day and night, because the sun doesn't really set. And if you would live on in another place in the galaxy, in another planet which has two suns, there is no night as such. So the origin of human time is based on the changes of day and night, and thus it was derived into an accounting system. However, time is energy. Sometimes time passes very quickly when you're enjoying yourself, and sometimes it seems like you're in a super slow motion movie which doesn't want to end when you're stuck in a situation that you're not enjoying. So time itself is energy, is a stream. And just like any other energy, like any other stream, you can come out of it. I usually give an example of a river. And if you're in the river, you're wet and you're going wherever the river is going. When you step out of the river, you're no longer wet, you dry up, and therefore you can change your direction. So in essence, time is a river. That's why it's called timeline. There is a continuity from point A to this moment to point B, and the no time is basically stepping out of time. Of course, changing your focus, firstly, it's very easy because you can just shift your focus somewhere else, but sustaining your presence out of time, that is more difficult because people have been supporting the experience of time and getting used to it for decades. Essentially, the mind, the emotional experiences, thoughts, and even thinking about the future is all past. It is all past. It is already old. Even this ordinary 3D life experience is already old. So from the perspective of self or the source, the ordinary 3D life is a very old idea, a very old thought. It's already outdated reality. I will repeat, from the perspective of the self, of the source, then the usual 3D life is already an old, outdated reality. Because you see that the self, source, God consciousness, is living instantly. It is the instant existence. And from that instant existence came out energy as a high vibrational energy. And then this high vibrational energy started to slow down and take a shape, slow down further, take a more dense form, slow down further, and finally take the last form, which is a physical form. So the physical form is already the end product, which was already long time thought and brought into existence. So the self has already moved on, so to speak, into some new ideas, into new thoughts, into new creativity, because this is already a baked cake. A 3D reality is already done deal. It's like, imagine you're the chef. So you have envisioned a beautiful cake and you went through the process to make it, you made it, and now it's in the fridge or on display in a coffee shop. So for the chef, that cake on the display, it's already old, done deal. So the chef is already cooking something new. However, those beings who go back to the self are truly alive. Those beings who reconnect to the source, go back into the source, into the self, are truly alive, are truly living. Living real time, not living in the past, which is a done deal. So therefore, we know that the average human being is living only 4% of their whole life in what we could say a real-time true reality. And other 96% is a done deal. It's already old. Now I heard there is a new definition for the average human person. They're called the normies. Yeah, the awakened people are no longer seen as some kind of special people as before. The awakened people are more normal people, and the unawakened people are called the normies because they normalized themselves in the old version of reality, in the old way. So in this moment, everyone has a chance to place your focus on that which is real, on that which is instant. And to do that, first of all, you need to slow down, whatever you're doing. That's the first step, to slow down whatever you're doing, and then to stop for a moment, and then to see that in that moment of stopping, that's where the real thing is. Why? Because you have so many processes. You have so many processes which are mental processes, thinking process, understanding process, contemplative process, analytical process, examining data process. The mind itself is stuck in the processes. And therefore, it is never truly in the actual reality. It is just processing the past. It's like a slow computer. It's just still stuck on that old stuff. And then, of course, through the focus on the processes, since the actual reality continuously changes, a person experiences emotions and feelings, and guess what? They're stuck again in the emotions and feelings. More processing, more backlog. So it seems that the body is really struggling to live because it's constantly trying to catch up and to process, but it gotten stuck in a loop of process and process and process. So when is it time to live? So therefore, you need to slow down. Whatever is happening, you need to slow down. That's how you become more present, more in the present. And as everything slows down, you're starting to come out of the river because the river was taking you. You were in the flow. You were in the flow. So for those spiritual people who want to be in the flow, that I have some bad news. But you're stuck in the flow. The river is flowing you wherever it's going. Do you know where the river is going? Some people know where the river is going, but most people don't know where the river is going. They're just flowing. Well, that's better than on a lower consciousness trying to go upstream, because that's a big struggle. You're literally going against the way of life. So no wonder why there's so much resistance and friction and diseases and problems. But those who are going with the flow, unfortunately, are also lost in the flow. So it's good to slow down, being in the flow, and by slowing down, to start stepping out of the river. The flow is the river. And there are so many rivers, so many rivers. There is a mental river, there is emotional river. Then those who awaken their chakras, they go into their chakra rivers, they go into their Kundalini river, and still river. Maybe more upgraded, maybe more exciting river, but everybody is river rafting, and so there are so many rivers that everybody's caught up with. And my invitation is to slow down, start stepping out of the river, and in that moment, as you step out of the river, you may just pause for a second and recognize that that is which is truly alive. That is called the stillness, but it's not a pending stillness. It is not a pending stillness. You don't slow down and then you wait for something. Yeah, no, you slow down and you just stop and just look around and you see everything is alive. Everything is alive, is fresh, and then you may feel how the river is pulling you. And the river then comes up, either the mental river or emotional river or certain feeling or energetic river comes up again and it pulls you. So as you slow down and stop, you may experience the freshness of reality, the freshness of existence, the aliveness of existence. It is important to taste this aliveness of existence, freshness of existence. It is important to taste it because it allows you to see the contrast, to see the difference between that which is alive and real and between that which basically is a process in which you are stuck or you are just flowing along or simply you get caught up into. And then there is the most challenging part. The most challenging part is recognizing, so why do I have those rivers? Why am I stuck in those rivers? Why am I always wet? That why is important. You could reflect in two ways. One way, when you are feeling something amazing, you're just in a beautiful, loving space. You're so wet in love, and you're enjoying yourself. I'm wet in love. Oh, love. Oh, I love you. I love myself. I love everyone. I'm so wet in love. It's amazing. And it's obviously nice, obviously nice. However, upon reflection of the contrast of the aliveness and immediate freshness of existence, the river of love is beautiful, of course, but it's a river. It's a process. It is a certain experience which comes and goes, comes and goes. And this is why it is so important to taste that freshness of now, that instant of immediate light or immediate awareness. Because then and only then you can compare it and keep that as your guiding point. So coming back to the good rivers and so to speak, good experiences and good processes, you ask a question, what benefit does it give me? And of course, it's very easy to answer because love is nice. Happiness is nice. Bliss is wonderful. However, and at the back of your mind, you know that it's subject to change. And that's why there is some fear that you may lose it. That's why there is some fear that you may lose it. That's why you then start attaching, so you keep it. That's why you start struggling because it's going away and you don't want to go it away, but it's going away and you're trying to hold on to it and something else is already coming up and you don't want something else. You want to keep this love and happiness and bliss, but there comes your mother or your boyfriend or somebody else and says there's there's some problem, we have to deal with this, and no, everything is love, there's no problem. I'm still in love, there's no problem. But they say there is a problem and you say no, there is no problem, and here you go, you have an argument and then there is more problem. So it's a typical situation how attachment and resistance and opposition and argument arises. When the second part, when there is a challenging river, and sometimes you flow in the flow and then you hit your head in the rock. You know, the reality just like slams in your face. And in those challenging moments, so whatever river you are experiencing, you need to ask yourself, what benefit does it give me? What does this river give me? And that's why I gave two examples, the good rivers and the bad rivers. When the good rivers are there, it's obvious. The benefits are obvious. Love is nice. Bliss is wonderful. Happiness is beautiful. The benefits are obvious, but that's why at first I told you that you need to compare the actual immediate existence with the nice rivers. Because otherwise you're gonna be stuck in rivers. You're gonna be stuck in processes. And guess what? They change. I know many people who try just to stop and, and for a moment they experience this wonderful existence, but then they can't sustain it. They can't stay in this alive, fresh, immediate existence because they have many rivers. Yeah, and some people even think they got enlightened because for a moment they experienced existence. But enlightenment is not a moment which comes and goes. Yeah, it's about staying in that existence as that existence, well, being the existence, and recognizing clearly that this existence, consciousness, self, is my primary reality. And then the secondary part are all the rivers which have tendencies to pull the strings, to pull your nadis. Yeah, and how many got them? You know, like 50, some people say 55,000, some other yogis counted 70,000. A lot of rivers, a lot of them. Yeah, and that's where things get energetically interwound. So that's where, of course, comes deconditioning and releasing. That's why I asked you, what is the benefit of the good rivers and the bad rivers? What is the benefit? And I met many people at high levels of consciousness, and they're like bliss, you know, like, oh, now I'm in bliss, and oh, it's so much love. And I say, wait a moment, let's slow down a bit. Let's slow down a bit, because you're not so much here at all. You're wet now in this river, in this lovely experience. And if they have any honest reflection, they'll say, yeah, I know that I'm not fully awakened yet. So therefore you need to ask the question, what is the benefit? What's behind? What is behind this river? Yes, and especially for the challenging processes. What's behind it? What's the core of it? What are you trying to avoid? Yeah, so this is the art of deconditioning, the art and science of deconditioning. So as you work through those processes and you see clearly the processes of the benefits and the hidden sides of all of that stuff, you start to decondition, and thus your awareness is being released. You're releasing your awareness. You're liberating your consciousness. Consciousness itself is already liberated, but you are liberating yourself into consciousness, because before that you were involved. You were involved in the rivers. So my we can say ultimate reflection is the consciousness itself versus being wet in experience, whatever it is, whatever it is. Yeah, being wet in experience, whatever it is. And it's important to have the distinctions, because sometimes people meditate, they're in this peaceful space, in this kind of pending stillness, and and then they confuse that is the real silence of the mind, and that's the real emptiness, and then of course it doesn't last long because something else comes up. So what am I pointing to is a recognition of the present existence, which always is, always alive, always fresh. It is available for all of you. Just ask a question, am I aware? Just slow down a bit, stop a bit from any processes. Right here, there it is. It's easy to access, but the rivers are the challenges, and that's the hard part. The easy part, it is to momentarily become the Buddha, momentarily to experience the self. That's the easy part. But the hard part is how to sustain that And what I mean by sustaining that is again, caution of confusion. Oh, I need to sustain the awareness. You know, am I aware? Yes, I'm aware. Let me just freeze and let me just sustain it. Let me embody it. Let me be in it. And then your whole energy just cramps up. And in 5 minutes, you're like, oh, I can't take it anymore. Like everything got stuck. So what I mean by sustaining or staying or abiding or whatever word we use to be to reside in to be in awareness as awareness, or to be awareness yourself is that's the hard part. And as you go along, you see, you have a clear distinction. What is awareness itself, and what are the rivers, the processes. And for those on a higher levels of consciousness, the invitation is to notice that even lovely things are also rivers. And therefore, that's why we use the word true happiness, true love, true peace. It means that it is not dependent. It is not dependent. It is, yes, it can change. It can change, you know, the experience can come of peace, but you know that you're not holding on to it. You're not wet in it. You're not lost in it. You're not hanging in that peace. You're not trying to stay there. Yeah, so the true peace, it just comes and then it just goes. And as beautifully as it came, as beautifully it just goes. And there was a sense of purity of it, because it's not stained by attachment, by any objection, by trying to keep it and trying to sustain it. It's not stained by any manipulation. So that's why there's a word true. So same thing with time. And any talk about time, it's basically a talk about the past. Because even when you are thinking about the future, what you're actually doing is you are referencing the past and overlaying what you already know onto the probabilities of what may happen later on. So all you're doing really is you're reflecting on the past. And the actual future, when it comes, it comes. It may be different. It's not here yet. So the actual future is again, can only be this freshness, aliveness in the now. So anything to do with thinking past, thinking about present, thinking about future is the past. It's all already old. And in most cases, even what you experience, like your body, for example, what you experience, in most cases, it's also old. Only when you actually feel the buzzing of your cells, in that moment, you're actually experiencing the aliveness of the body. Or in another case, you can just pinch yourself and, all right, that seems to be alive. It's responding real time. Yeah. But otherwise, let's face it, everybody is caught up in the past, in the processes. Yeah. So even as you're sitting, you can just recognize, oh, there is a bit of this, maybe back pain, something like this. Wonderful. You are alive. It's literally telling you that it's there, that it's real, that it's happening right now. Because otherwise, when you don't have a back pain, you're not noticing your body. You're lost in a process. You're just in the river, somewhere else. So this is why it's so beautiful to have a body, because the body is a wonderful reminder of what's actually present, what's actually real, what's actually alive, instant. Yeah, so your body is a wonderful reminder. Yeah, but most of the times the normies are not in the body. They're not in the body. They're in their mind and their emotions in the river. So even when they have the body identity, I am the body identity, they're still not in the body. They're in identity of the body. Unless they're actually in the gym, working out, or actually running, or actually, being really in the body. In that moment, yes, there is a certain aliveness. However, they have no clue what that is. They have no clue what it is. Yeah, so their identity is fixed, and the body, okay, the body is experiencing this aliveness, but that person is experiencing the identity of the body, not the body itself. Yeah, so that's the big paradox of the lower consciousness, identity, and experience. There is a intermediary process between stopping, pausing, and recognizing the aliveness of existence. There's an intermediary process between the deconditioning, which is very important, which is familiarization with that which is more alive, with that which is more present, with that which is more real. So familiarization, it doesn't mean struggle. It doesn't mean self-judgment. Because some people, I just met a person yesterday, and this person assumes that, he says, I was experiencing so much difficulties and challenges. I had a really hard time because I wanted to be the self, and all these things were happening to me, and therefore, they're all not spiritual things, and I immediately said, hey, stop right there, because you're judging the experience. So your struggle is judgment of what is spiritual, what is not spiritual. I should be spiritual. A spiritual person should do this and not do that. And there's a whole inner conflict, inner struggle, inner fight, and a self-disempowerment. Self-disempowerment. That's what it actually was. So we cleared it out right away. So that's why familiarization is not a judgment of experience. It's not a struggle. It's not like I'm trying to be spiritual or trying to do this, and then you experience not being able to do this because maybe you're shooting too far out. Maybe you're shooting right into the stars while you're still on the ground, and maybe the next step is the second level on the ground, and not yet on a rocket ship in another galaxy. So familiarization um, when it's done right, it feels very natural. It feels a little bit new and challenging, but nicely challenging. It's like, oh, okay, I have this, it's a new thing, and okay, I can try to do this, and I can't keep it yet. I can't keep it yet, but I'm not lost in my lower emotion. But through familiarization, I come right in the middle. I can't keep it yet, and that's why people say, I'm maybe one foot in it and one foot not yet. But this is the process of familiarization, because you're getting to familiarize, to taste, to just stay a bit long, just a bit longer, and then again a little bit longer, to your next step, to where you can be, to that which is possible. And that's why it works, and it helps immensely. I know many people who met many teachers and gurus, and they experience something, they're here as their normal way, and then they experience something like right here or even right there, for like a few moments or a day or two or a week, and then they crash land, and what follows afterwards? Struggle, pain. Yeah, what follows is a lot of struggle afterwards, because they tasted this nectar of something much higher, and they want it. They want to go back into it, but they can't, because they're still here, and there's a big gap. And some people assume that, if they're gonna taste that one more time, they will get enlightened, and that seems like a very well known story of addiction. You get a high dose, you go on a high, certain drugs give you a big high. You go on this high, and then you crash low, and then you stay for a whole days and weeks and on a crash site. And then you feel, I have to get back to this high, and I will do anything to get back to this high. And all, it's the same trouble of addiction. Yeah, so it can be troublesome, to be honest. And some teachers are playing with this fire, so to speak, by giving people experiences, and then not really helping them to stabilize and grow into those experiences. They don't help them to grow into them, to actually stay there, to actually be, stabilize there. They say, oh, well, let's do another high. Let's do another high, see what happens. And that's a whole dangerous game. And then, it might work for one or two people, but for the majority of people, they just burn out and they crash hard. So it is, we can say, a bit of a dangerous way of awakening, because it's a very high probability of crashing and having a lot of issues and troubles afterwards. So this is why my approach and our approach in New Humanity is to fully support as much as we can. This is why we have so many videos and so many ways that, we are bringing out ways to support your journey, to grow into enlightenment, to grow into that ability to sustain that higher consciousness. because I experimented in the past by giving people experiences, but then very quickly I realized that's not going to work out very well because people crash. And luckily nobody was hurt. And then I helped them out to stabilize right away. And yeah, so that's why, you become empowered, you take a step further, and it's better that you do it, wisely, and familiarizing with that which is possible for you, so that you grow into it. Because through the process of familiarization, it's possible, it's doable. It's a little bit challenging, but it's a healthy thing, and then it's possible and doable. All right. Jenny, I see your hand.
Yes, just a quick question, and I can go back and listen to the replay, but I came in late where you were talking about the rivers, and I think I came in, so just a clarification on the various rivers. So when we're in the river, if my understanding is correct, and we're actually wet, we can be in that state of non-awareness, um, of being really present, but being in the river can also mean being caught up in, if I can articulate this correctly, and just, I'm just going to call it what is seemingly chaos of the universe versus kind of really being present and in alignment with oneself. Is my understanding of that correct, or
Okay, yeah.
am I off a little bit?
Yeah, being in the river, you may be not aware of it. You may be not aware that you are in the river, because the first thing you need to do is to recognize when you slow down and stop, there's an immediate awareness, immediate moment of aliveness, immediate openness where no thought happens. Yeah, but it lasts usually very short. Some people, by staying there, may have a certain shift, but usually it's more rare to have those shifts, and it's hard to sustain being in that moment of actual awareness. So then, as people are in the river, they may be not aware, and that's the majority. But those who now hear what I'm saying, they will recognize that, oh, okay, so now I can look and reflect what is the river. And when you're in the river, you feel pulled, you feel not so present. And on higher levels of consciousness, even when you say, well, I'm present, but again, you might be in the river of presence, which is a higher river, a bigger river. It's a river Ganga, but still a river. And therefore, bringing awareness, you recognize, oh, I was in a certain space. I was kind of lingering somewhere. What I don't know what was, what I was doing or what was happening, or I was just pausing. But in awareness, everything is obvious. So awareness allows you to reflect on the river. And that's why awareness is necessary to have that point of reflection. As a precaution, I will say that you shouldn't, beat up yourself too much either. You shouldn't do that. try just to be aware of everything, because it's more like a fluid approach. You shouldn't beat up yourself because I'm in the river, and why I'm not aware. It becomes you're cramping up yourself. You might be judging yourself. You may be beating up yourself. It's not so healthy either. So yeah, I would suggest a more natural approach to have awareness, especially when you feel you get lost, you get drowned, you get, in that lostness or in it, or you become unaware and then you snap out of it, you become aware. So that is a more natural approach, and just recognize if you're overdoing it, then you start feeling uncomfortable again. You start feeling, cramped up or beating up yourself or start judging yourself. Now that becomes again not healthy. So it's not healthy to be lost in the river. It's not healthy to beat up yourself either. It's a way. It's a way. It's a middle way, as Buddha said. It's a middle way of being, and that's why it's a process to come out of the processes. Yeah, it's a way of coming out of the rivers. So do it wisely. Yeah, with all the precautions. Yes, so familiarization is very important. It allows you to familiarize with that which is doable and to migrate yourself there. Yeah, you can't just migrate yourself too far out because it's not sustainable. So this is how it is possible to be beyond time. It is possible to be beyond time and space. It is possible because I did that, and many other people can experience that. I would need to double check with them, but they can surely experience that. And the way really is to always be aware of what's going on now, every now, and to see, oh, that's a river. And sometimes you may, it's sometimes, now this is from a higher perspective, sometimes it's okay to be in the river, because when you are in awareness as awareness or self-realized, the river is not a problem anymore. You can be in the river. You can allow your body to be in the river. You can allow things to be processing, but you are not mixed up in it. That's the thing. You're not lost in it. You're not mixed up in it. And you may say, okay, now I feel pain. There is pain. Now I feel sad. And even, I realize being maybe sad for a while if something, many things happen, difficultly, or, some situation arises. So there is a Zen saying, a Buddhist saying that the two monks were have met, and they got some news, and one of the monks got a news that his son has died, and he was crying, and the other monk tells him, you shouldn't cry because it's an illusion. Life is an illusion. And the other monk whose son has passed away says, I know that, but it's the biggest illusion. Yeah, it's a big illusion, and that's why I'm crying. It's okay. It's not a problem. So that's why you're not lost in it. You're not mixed up in it. And whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens, happens. But you're not, as Jesus said, you're in the world, but not of the world. So that means that whatever happens, happens, but you're not lost in it. You're not identified with it. You're not mixed up in it. So the rivers are no longer the problem. Because then you have shifted your identity into this boundless, open, pure being. And therefore, you interestingly, that you drop any separation, and therefore you experience much more. Because you're no longer resisting anything. You're no longer avoiding anything. You're no longer denying anything. These were the luxuries of the ego. Yeah, you don't have any more luxuries of the ego. You know, pain comes, it comes, and you feel it, whoa, fully. You know, it just, you're absolutely one with it. One with it. You know, you are it. You are that. What does it mean, I am that? It literally means that I am all of it, all of it. I am that as consciousness and as all of that. And the pain and the sadness and happiness, bliss, and love, and then discomforts and all of that, all of that. So that's why Buddha said to not to avoid suffering, but to become free of suffering in suffering. And there are many lovely Buddhist stories of monks experiencing tremendous suffering, like Tibetan monks with the Chinese. But one monk said, I for a few moments, I experienced some dangerous moments because I felt that I might lose my compassion in suffering. So therefore, you know, paradoxically, when you come to this awakening, the separation dissolves, and you don't have the luxury anymore from avoiding what is now, what is here. But you're free, and that freedom is richness of life. It's beautiful, absolute oneness with life. To be as life, as all of it. Yeah, so that's what unfolds. And the fear in between is this unknown, and it's avoidance, trying to escape, trying to not feel something which you already feel. That's why the fear is. What is the fear? Fear is unknown. The fear only is because of unknown. And as you kind of slow down into it, this fear can be transformed into oneness of this new experience, deeper experience. So fear can help you to open up into oneness with the deeper experience.